70 years ago, in a small town in modern Telangana, a young man, moved by the words of his teacher on social justice and equality, set out on a unique quest. For the next 13 years, he'd walk across India, trudging from door to door, begging wealthy landowners to part with 1/6 of their land to be redistributed to landless farmers. This man was Vinoba Bhave, an independence activist and disciple of Mahatma Gandhi. And this movement was called Bhudan, meaning donation of land. Later, he was joined by Jayaprakash Narayan, another independence activist and an avowed socialist, and extended the movement to donation of wealth, or Sampatti Dan. And that was to engage business leaders. Early in 1955, India's most preeminent business leader found himself responding to a letter from Jayaprakash Narayan asking him to donate 1/6 of his income. This business leader obliged unhesitantly. Not just that, he corrected the numbers that his team had calculated and communicated to Mr. Jayaprakash Narayan saying, no, I insist that my 1/6 income should be income from all sources, including from the trusts. But alongside this contribution, he sent a letter to Jayaprakash Narayan, which said something like this: Mr. Narayan, I don't believe I agree with your vision of capitalism, or what do you think of its place in history? I believe evolved capitalism and cooperative systems are, by far, if not the only, some of the most efficient ways of decentralizing economic power and delivering efficiency. This man was J.R.D. Tata, and later a predecessor to Mr. Ratan Tata, who will be here shortly. 60 years ago, J.R.D. Tata was espousing the first principles of impact investment, or evolved capitalism. That is, profit plus purpose equals impact. And right at that time, a little away from Bombay in Anand, Gujarat, India's first significant dairy cooperative was turning 10 years old. Today, at 70 years of age, Amul has 5 billion in revenues and returns 80% of its profits back to the 3 million farmers it serves. Vinoba Bhave felt the pain of the poor, landless farmers and was prepared to fight for social justice, whatever be the sacrifice. But Amul is a reminder that J.R.D. Tata was right. We can build capitalism 2.0. We can build a system that speaks for the poor. We can build an impact economy which makes capital and profits moral again. We're already on our way to building these impact economies. And I had recently requested KPMG to do some numbers to tell us, what does this look like? And what we found was that all of you have tirelessly and collectively built an impact economy which is now about $268 billion. And it serves a little over 500 million underserved stakeholders. By 2020, it is possible to build the core impact economy of nearly $500 billion, serving 1 billion underserved stakeholders. Ladies and gentlemen, the tipping point is nigh. Now, we have come a long way. Even in our annual summits, you heard that from Tracy and Ronnie. From the first time we met in London till today, we have grown 9 times, just like our sector. And today we should draw strength from the fact that there are 900 revolutionaries in this summit from 54 different countries. We are not alone. In the manner of Vinoba Bhave, you're all on a quest. Explorers and pioneers of impact in your own countries. You've already traveled from far-off places, so thank you for that. In the next 10 minutes, join me on a little world tour to rediscover this world from the lens of impact investing. Now, interestingly, in medieval times in Europe, when they drew maps, only the known world was marked. The unknown world used to be left blank with a line across it, here be dragons. So let's follow those intrepid questers, Drake, Ibn Battuta, Vasco da Gama, Columbus, and see what's happening in the impact world. Let's start going from 77 degrees east to 90 degrees east, from Delhi to Dhaka to our newest NAB, Bangladesh. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's Bangladesh gave social entrepreneurship a big fillip in 2006 when Grameen Bank and Muhammad Yunus won a Nobel Peace Prize. Their billion-dollar market is going to grow by 50% in the next 3 years. So I want to request the Bangladesh delegation to rise, and please welcome Arastu Khan and Farhad Raza, who are leading this delegation. Please rise. Let's see the One second, the Bangladeshis. Okay, thank you. Sit. Please sit. Dutch traveler Abel Tasman helped map Australia in the 17th century, and it is now firmly on the impact map. In fact, our NAB leaders, they are trying to make sure that their values are enacted into law and are building a $300 million wholesaler where private capital will match public capital. And across the Tasman Sea, New Zealand, whom we just formally admitted, is breaking new ground. So please welcome our Australian New Zealand delegations led by Rosemary Addis, David Wood, Sally McCutcheon. Please rise and show yourselves and give them a welcome to the summit. Thank you. Let's travel 70 degrees north now from Sydney to Seoul. And in South Korea, they just breached the $500 million mark for the impact market. And our NAB there just persuaded the government to build a $300 million fund of funds. Across the Korea state, Japan market just doubled. And there, our NAB has been able to persuade the government on the lines of big society capital to unlock unclaimed assets, dormant accounts, and build a $4.5 billion wholesaler. Now imagine that. That's the power of this network. So please welcome Shuichi Ono, Chul Moon, and the Japanese, South Korean delegations here. Please rise, all of you. That's a large, our Japanese and Korean friends here in the room. Thank you. Before I cross the Pacific, I will stop at the Bering Strait. Here at the Bering Strait are two islands 7.5 kilometers apart, and through them runs the international date line as well as the border for Russia and US. If you were to stand on the US side on the island called Little Diomede on the shore and look eastwards, you don't just see another country. On a clear day, you see tomorrow. So let's go to the land most characteristically defining the tomorrows of impact economies. That's North America. And we all know that for many of us here, Columbus discovered the nation for us, but the rediscovery of North America is being led by impact entrepreneurs, and philanthropists who are shaping this movement. About 100 of them are in the room today. The US impact market was $50 billion back in 2015. We estimate it's going to be $100 billion, the largest market by 2020. They are also getting amazing regulatory support. This last Friday, the US president signed into law the BUILD Act, which is going to transform OPIC and put impact investment centrally and squarely in the development finance agenda. And across the Great White North in Canada, the government is writing their own national social finance strategy. The country just issued a first federal social impact bond. The government eased laws to make sure philanthropies can do investing. So please welcome Darren Walker, Adam Jagulski, and our big US, Canada delegation here. Please rise, our biggest international delegation. Where are our American friends and Canadian friends here? Okay. Don't be shy. Okay, let's travel across the Sierra Nevada desert to my new home, LATAM. Along the ancient relics of Aztec and Mayan, the newest discovery in Mexico is a $125 million fund of funds just founded this year by Sonan Capital. With 30 members, our Mexico NAB is as vibrant as their after-flea parties. And if you don't believe it, go in February to Merida. Across the Amazon, in Brazil, our NAB worked alongside the government to build a national impact investment strategy. This June, when I was there at the biennial, I found LGT had made 2 investments of $20 million each, the largest in the country thus far. Vox Capital was celebrating its first exit at 26% IRR. And across the Andes, Chile, We admitted them this spring. Their board includes former President Lagos, whom I had a pleasure of meeting earlier this year. Santiago in Chile is going to be the venue for our 2019 summit. So please mark the date, 7th, 8th November on your calendar. And in Argentina, where G20 head of states meet in 50 days from now, the government started the first fund of funds. The stock market regulator is making ESG regulations right now as we speak. The first SIP just got launched last month. The RISE Fund made a $20 million investment in an education startup, something Argentina had never seen. And next door, in Uruguay, they are not just shining on the football field. Uruguay, which is part of our Southern Cone NAB alongside Argentina, has engaged their National Development Agency to be part of the efforts. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rodrigo Villar, Beto, Celia, Marcos, Sebastian, Alejandro, Angelica, Carmen, and our LATAM NABs here. Welcome to the summit. Where are our Latinos? Okay, welcome. There are only opportunities in impact in all corners. Dragons just haunt maximization of profit without purpose. Let's cross the Atlantic and see what's going on in Europe. Portugal is vibrant with social impact bonds. They even persuaded the government and are building a $55 million social innovation fund. It's also home to Gulbenkian Foundation, a major supporter and a torchbearer of the movement there. In France, President Emmanuel Macron has announced a French Social Business Act. Solidarity funds have already allowed those saving for their pensions to invest up to 10% of their AUM in social sector stocks. Across the Rhine, Germany now has two social impact bonds and is home to Bertelsmann Stiftung. I see Brigitte there, another major supporter of GSG and a torchbearer in the country. In EU, European Investment Fund Social Impact Accelerator, which began operations back in 2013, has earmarked $250 million for social impact. And down in Mediterranean, in Marco Polo's Italy, the last budget saw a creation of a 25 million euros social outcome fund. And up in the Nordics, Finland has been an innovator. I believe 6 social impact bonds. They have the first environmental impact bond of the region, the largest European bond, and the first one for refugees. So it's amazing. And then let's just cross the channel. Because of the great contributions of our founder, Sir Ronald Cohen, UK has been an innovator and an institution builder. Big Society Capital, the Social Finance Global Network, world's first SIB at the Petersburg prison, the first Life Chances Outcome Fund ever done by a government. And most importantly, the famous 2013 G8 Social Impact Investment Task Force, which led to the creation of GSG. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sir Harvey, Cyril, Uli, Giovanna, Brigitte, Mika, and all our European delegation here. Give them a big hand. Welcome, folks. And stand up. Yes, do stand up. Along Marco Polo's Silk Route across the Mediterranean in Israel, they have done 2 social impact bonds, and there are 4 more in the pipeline. And Israel just made ESG reporting mandatory for corporations. And in Africa, what better place to start than in South Africa, our first NAB, starting from Cape of Good Hope. How fortuitous. So please welcome our Africa, Middle East NABs here, Israel being led by Yaron, and Elias and Amel Kabul here. Please, can you rise, our Africa, Middle East delegations, and welcome to the summit. Welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, our movement around the world is strong, stellar, vibrant, growing, thriving. We cover today almost 5 billion of humanity, 3 billion of humanity. I think that chart's missing. We cover about $3 billion of humanity through our 21 NABs. By 2020, we'll be covering $5.5 billion of humanity through 30 NABs. Eventually, let's come back where we stand today in India. India is home to $1 billion of impact investments annually, touching 60 to 80 million lives, and delivering 11% IRR in dollar-denominated terms. What's unique about this country is that you can see scale. There are a dozen enterprises here with either $1 billion in revenue or $1 billion in market cap. I spoke about Amul in dairy farming. There's Ramki Enviro in waste management, Jain Irrigation in agriculture, AU Financials in financial inclusion. These are all billion-dollar unicorns that you wouldn't find anywhere else. I dare say India can be ground zero for impact investment. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to ask half the room to stand up, but please welcome the Indian cohort and acknowledge them as they are your hosts for this summit. I personally have a strong reason for doing the work I do. I really wanted to see you all together here in India, and we made that call last year. I am a very happy man today, and I'll tell you why. I'm a child of a refugee family. Both my parents were refugees, coming in from what's now called Pakistan. My father arrived here in August 1947 as a 7-year-old boy, landed in Amritsar. The refugee camps were in disarray. He worked as a porter at the railway station there for weeks before the government relocated the families. Youngest of 7, he never studied much, but he learned how to type, write shorthand, and started as a lower division clerk. 40 years later, when he retired, he was still typing. My father may not have educated himself much, earned him much, but I can tell you this, that clerk had a vision. He knew how to disrupt the low-income cycle and had an intergenerational view of this. He invested in our education at great sacrifice. We lived very humbly, but we went to schools people from our economic strata could never do. So I stand here today, the son of a clerk, living proof to the power of education, the power of impact. And I'm so proud we are launching not $1, but $2 billion education outcome funds today, and we'll do that later in the day. So I will leave you with this. As eternal voyagers, we cannot cease our quest. Remember, Vinoba Bhave walked for 13 long years. As his rallying cry, Vinoba Bhave chose the words Jai Jagat, meaning victory to the world. Not victory to a community, not to a region, not even to the humanity, but victory to the world with all animate and inanimate that are here. So I welcome you all over the next 2 days at this summit. Be brave explorers of the impact movement. Let's build a world where our children hold the map of a fair and just planet. That vision, that future is worth fighting for, worth sacrificing for. Let's show capital how to find its highest purpose. Thank you. Thank you.